they just had some random guy do it. From what I can gather from interviews, Alan seems to have really enjoyed playing his role as King Candy, especially since he was allowed to improvise some of his lines.
How about he
So what's
switches
Disney doing with him nowadays? Let's see. He was the goat from Wish, and he'll also be Hey Hey again in the upcoming Moana 2. I mean, a paycheck's a paycheck. But I
honestly
think that's
didn't
enough
know.
rambling. So
Honestly didn't know he
every
was
single
by
sin
Hey Hey.
King Candy has ever committed in his entire life.
Sourville, that glitch cannot be allowed to ring.
Okay, no, you can ring me too.
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox digital gift cards with Microsoft Rewards. Sign up for Microsoft Rewards and earn points for your everyday activities when you search on Bing.
King Candy is a fantastic villain. Like any good tyrant, he's always ready to put up a charismatic facade.
Yep.
But even that can't hide how self-obsessed he is. From the moment Candy is introduced, you're already sick of him. His introductory speech is laced with condescending remarks that feed into his monstrous ego. To start us off, here's his very first line.
Hello, my royal subjects!
I get he's the king and all, but there's just something about the way he puts everyone beneath him, while also the king and all, but there's just something about the way he puts everyone
See, when I first look at the characters from Sugar Rush, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. They say, and then in the sequel they say 15 children. Boy, what you look, I'm sorry, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 kids. What are you talking about? It's because of these it's because of the 4 different type of people that look exactly like the original but in different designs. Like that blueberry, cherry, and like the red cherry. Like I saw a red cherry but blue. Some kind of, I think her name is Nostalgia. Her name is still Adorabes, but her name is actually Nostalgia. Like literally, you look it up and see that her name is Nostalgia. And we can see a clay version of Missy Vaxky, and the yellow version of her. Yeah, there's like 2 of them that are missing, and there's one that are Jellybean and Wolverine. Yeah. And then in the Japanese version, she got replaced by Missy Sakura. Yeah. It's actually true. Go watch that.
beneath him, while also declaring they're all loyal to him and would never question anything he says or does. And then he throws candy from his sleeves down onto the citizens, who also happen to be made of candy.
Cannibalism?
We're 10 seconds into his introduction, and he's already promoting cannibalism. Let's do a blitz round. How many times can you be an asshole within one scene?
Okay,
Go.
Mr. Royalty.
Pay to play. We all know this. The fee to compete is 1 gold coin from your previous winnings, if you've ever won. I have. Let me go first.
So yeah.
Okay, so his current assessment is he hasn't done anything horrible yet, but he is being kind of microaggressive and sort of a bitch. I also want to go over how Sourbill introduces him. He says, rightful ruler. Now ask yourself, why exactly would he have to clarify that? That's like if the president just got elected and you introduced them like this. Let us welcome our legitimately and democratically elected president who did not lose any of the ballots on purpose. That incident was an accident. Somebody sneezed and the ballots went flying out the window into a Category 6 hurricane, and we unfortunately couldn't catch them.
We've gone now.
The fact Candy
Oh
wanted
my
Sour Bill to
God.
say rightful ruler means that he's attempting to legitimize his position of power as much as possible, even with his first introductory line. Even him appeasing the citizens by throwing candy at them could be a distraction. But there's no way he could be anything but their wonderful, charitable, supreme ruler.
Yeah, right. With that kind of face like that. Yeah. Some rightful ruler that have a face like this. Alright. Alright. Alright.
At least, that's what they think.
You're not going turbo, are you?
Turbo?
Turbo?
No, I'm not going turbo. Come on, guys. Ralph's gone turbo. Going on about cake and medals.
What's even more weird is that
Turbo?
they never mentioned.
You game?
They never mentioned.
Ralph.
You know what's even weird? I know I already said that, but what's weird is that in the sequel they never say something about. They never say about Turbo now, cause they all may think, oh, they must have known that Kenny was Turbo, so he must have been there. But literally think, Penelope jumps out of her game, just got out her game so that she can go to a new game. Until she realized she had to go to another game. Cause she feel like she likes it here better than her own home. Which she been wanting to since she was been an outcast. And now she decided to get out until she decided to get out of Sugar Rush and go to a new game that are literally dangerous, which she likes. Yeah. That's definitely mean that she gone turbo. But she's not the only one though. Rap did go turbo, but didn't fully go turbo because remember. Because if he was about to be going turbo, that he never would have been back in the game to begin with, yeah.
You're not going turbo, are you?
Turbo? Who's that?
Oh boy, we got ourselves a twist villain. Then that's all they wrote for the next 6 years.
Give him the award.
Okay, but King Candy works because he was already the villain, and being Turbo doesn't contradict any of his behavior. It explains it.
Yeah.
Not to mention the consistent
How
foreshadowing
did-
that actually
Yeah.
explains it. Not to mention
Yeah, honestly, that's a good question. How did he know who Ralph is, and why is he afraid of Penelope racing? Like,
the consistent foreshadowing
Like,
that
what's
actually
going on?
makes sense throughout the entire.
why can't he assist the code room? That makes sense. How you would know where the code room is?
movie? Well, that begs the question: how much foreshadowing actually was there for King Candy's twist? You know, funny you ask, because if we take a closer look at this very scene, did you ever notice he was standing on top of a red and white grandstand? Let me say that again. Red and white, and it's even striped. Also, speaking of stripes, his helmet has a stripe down the middle. Guess who else's helmet has a stripe down the middle? But my personal favorite is that when he puts his goggles over his eyes, they actually tint them yellow!
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice. I didn't even straight up notice that. Like bro, I didn't actually notice that until I watched her video multiple times and found it and realized it. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Anyways, I want to talk about a
See, this is why I like her. This is why I like her videos. This is why I like her video. Because she can see. Because she can notice anything. She good at analyzing things. Especially when it comes to Turbo. And, yeah. what I like about her is that she can know. Like, imagine make a theory of any other movies. Like, imagine she make a theory of what if Penelope was actually she the daughter of King Candy, which honestly, I have not heard of this, which I kind of don't remember where that theory exists. I just heard probably a long time ago that some person, I don't remember who that was, but I think someone was saying that Penelope could possibly be King Candy's father, or Turbo's, or / Turbo. I don't know. I'm probably gonna look that up when I'm done this video.
Really interesting, and here's the transition. The first actual hint there's something up with him is pretty early on. After Vanellope steals his medal, Ralph goes on a rampage trying to catch her. He also sends countless innocent civilians flying onto the pavement. That is until he gets trapped in a giant cupcake and is taken to the castle by donut cops. There, he's interrogated by the big fruity Frumple himself.
Because he's fruity.
What was that now? Let's
Is it because he's fruity? Fruity? He's a freak.
Interaction.
He just drove around.
You know, I think it's a pretty good person.
Drives in circles, automatically bears horns, obviously. Beast in shell. She just said this. She just keeps saying that word 3 times.
Impression. If he wasn't being in your face before, now he's really kicking it up a notch. And speaking of faces,
Oh my gosh, it's Wreck-It Ralph.
hold on, did you hear what he just said?
Milk my dad.
Not that.
Wreck-It Ralph.
He recognized who Ralph
But none of these people don't even know who Wreck-It Ralph is. So how did he know? Unless you already know. He already know.
Oh, what is that about? I
Yeah.
know this moment is brought up a lot when people talk about foreshadowing in this movie,
Yeah.
but for good reason. Because isn't it weird that King Candy recognizes Ralph at the
But no one
instant
else-
that he sees him? And given how
But-
Ralph answers,
Yeah.
he's kind of weirded out too.
Yeah,
Because
I would be
he's
weirded
from a
out too. Like, how you
30-year-old
know who I
game,
am?
And Sugar Rush seems to be relatively new.
Oh yeah.
That is certain how Ralph rolled the game, and Sugar Rush.
Oh yeah, I noticed that King Candy. I mean, no, not King. Turbo-tastic just got replaced by something else. I don't know what that is, but it just got
Be
replaced,
relatively-
and that's where the Sugar Rush came in.
New. And as sad as it is, this kind of attention is something that Ralph rarely receives. Not even the people that play Fix-It Felix Jr. know what his name is.
Where's the wrecking guy?
So how does King Candy know Ralph's name, despite never being told the title of the movie?
I mean, everyone knows who he is, because they know him for a very long time. Like, come on.
The answer is that it is plain sight.
If you take a closer look at the Turbo flashback, or even during
Oh,
the
yeah.
time lapse,
They were next to each other, but I mean, oh my god, they were roommates.
you
And
can
they were
spot
roommates.
Time positioned directly next to Fix-It Felix Jr. Oh my god, they were roommates. So having lived next to his cabinet
they were roommates. Oh my god, they were roommates.
for years, of course Turbo would recognize Ralph. And that's also why under his new identity, he's so surprised. Because this is the first time in decades that he's seeing him again. Ralph, on the other hand, has no idea who he's really talking to.
Yeah.
Which leads him to ask,
Who are you, the guy that makes the donuts? No, I'm King Candy.
wait, did you guys see that?
I didn't even notice.
I know what you want.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know he
Seriously,
did
that's
that.
what we're going to talk about next. Animated
Please.
body language.
No.
It's done especially well in this movie, with it carrying the most weight in the emotional scenes, which, trust me, we will cover. whether you like it or not. It's very interesting to me because you know that even the smallest waver in expression or a subtle shift in posture has been looked over thousands of times
right before
by the
they about to
animators
make a
and was
movie,
included as
that's
a
kinda
deliberate
cool.
choice. I think one of the most
Especially when they're
unique
trying to make it-
instances of
especially
body
in the-
language in
this
this
movie
movie
was
is
3D.
channeled through
I like
Penelope's glitching, which ranges from being an intense and garbled mess when she's upset to an insignificant blip when she's confused. That being said, if we put King Candy in a meat grinder, no.
Meat grinder.
If we put King Candy under a microscope like the vile specimen he is, what would we learn exactly? Because we just need to see what's inside that sick head of his, don't we? Notice how at
Don't
first,
we?
Candy nervously laughs when Ralph asks who he's supposed to be, before quickly dismissing his proposal that he could, in fact, be somebody else. He then declares his name with quite a lot of embellishment, almost as if he's acting out a performance.
Yeah.
Looking closely, you can even see him relax afterwards, then proceeding to quietly observe Ralph's reaction. It's almost
he
as
just
if
closed
he's
his
double-checking to
fingers
see
and
if
turned it
his
to his
facade
fist,
paid
like-
off. This half-nervous, half-performative nature
Like,
follows
oh
King
my
Candy
goodness.
everywhere he goes, giving his character
Not
an
missing
untrustworthy
that
atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
And this is even before things start getting weird.
Yeah.
Also, I found this detail from a post by Starlet.
Okay. It says I'm adoring King Candy's hand movements in this moment. It's just after Ralph asks him who he is, and King Candy laughs nervously and tells him his name, knows how his fingers twirling inwards, defending as he is waiting for Ralph's reaction, like he's unsure whenever his further is paying off. There always the undercurrent of control of performance with King Candy with this nervous energy. Maybe that's why when we first watched the movie, before we learned the twist, so many of us felt there was just something slightly off about him. Yep, I can agree.
On Tumblr, and I want to thank them for letting me include this in the video, because cool analyses like this only fuel my ever-growing Wreck-It Ralph obsession, so thanks a lot for that.
Oh yeah, I did have that book. Oh yeah, that book. I kind of wish I had that. So I want to look. So I kind of wish I would have had that book. Honestly.
What's he gonna say next?
You game jump? Ralph, you're not going turbo, are you?
What? No.
Hey, wait a minute. On first
Wait
glance,
a
this moment
minute.
seems like all
How you know about turbo? How you know that he about to go turbo? Like,
the other accusations. A bit rude, but on rewatch, the absolute hypocrisy really starts to settle in. But something else interesting happens. Before he mutters the name Turbo, he glances to the floor like it's forbidden to even mention, his hands looming closer like he's speaking of a ghost. He threatens Ralph with this accusation, all while he's well aware of the fact, perhaps even relishing in it, that he himself is the monster he speaks of. Which I honestly think is pretty cool, not gonna lie. But the next exchange is where we really get a glimpse of his putrid nature.
If you think you can come in here to my kingdom and take over my game, you've got another thing coming.
Easy, you're puffy.
It's funny how
I was like
quickly
a female version of King Candy, like, or a black version of a white woman. Oh, like a female version of a black, or more like a female version of a black woman doing it.
he jumps to conclusions. And quite literally, it seems,
Oh, no, you ain't
he
no hurry, so,
threatens
like,
Ralph on behalf
yeah.
of coming here to take over, quote, his kingdom. You know, he
What
seems
you
awfully
mean by
entitled,
that?
thinking he owns the place, but
Interesting.
what exactly is it that he's doing right now? He's afraid of losing something that he already has. Losing his game to
Jealousy.
a competitor.
I heard
Is
jealousy
he,
over
dare
here.
I say, jealous?
I hearing jealousy around here. Yep. You're jealous, King Candy. Admit it.
And whose jealousy was it that sparked a murderous rampage approximately 25 years ago? Excuse me, sir.
Yep.
Your turbo is showing. The
Yep,
rest is
your
exposition about the
turbo.
metal, and then he
For
pieces
crying
the
out loud.
fuck out, leaving Ralph to be re-brutalized by the police.
Dorita.
Okay, so if the cops were made of ice cream, I would say clearly they live to soft serve and protect. But they're made of donuts, and I couldn't think of anything fun. Dude, their badges literally say to heat and serve.
I mean, it makes sense why. I mean, that makes sense because cops eat donuts, which kind of real. I don't know. I probably will look it up if their favorite snacks are donuts when I'm done with this video.
Better sleep is simple. Just track your activity, exercise, get adequate exposure to natural light. Or maybe you just need a little more from your mattress. An adjustable base offers personalized.
Before we dive further into Turbo, we need to establish the
that Turbo from
societal
the Turbo
rules of
movie.
this arcade world. So if you haven't seen the movie in a while, here's a little refresher. Every character belongs to their own game, and good guy, bad guy, NPC, it doesn't matter who you are. You have one crucial job. Follow your programming.
Can't mess with the program, Ralph.
So stick to the program, soldier.
Stick with the program.
As you can see, this ideology is encouraged by pretty much everyone.
Yeah,
like, it's
'cause you
hard-coded into
messed
them.
up.
But what happens if you don't? Well, let's just say you run the risk of subjecting yourself to the worst fate imaginable. Getting unplugged.
They're gonna pull our plug.
It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Getting unplugged means you either die along with your game, swallowed into an endless vortex of nothingness, or best case scenario, you escape and become homeless, unable to fulfill your designated purpose ever again. The whole concept of unplugging is actually pretty morbid when you think about it. In technical terms, there's no reason why unplugging a game should erase any of its data, but in this
Unless it's
world,
high score
electricity
sometimes.
is
Yeah, it could
everybody's life
be less
force.
that.
Without it, who knows what'll happen? Well, actually, if there's an outage, everybody just piles into the power strip and has a fun little sleepover, so yeah, it's a little less dramatic than I was hoping. But unplugging, there
I
is
used to have a book about Wreck-It Ralph movie, but I didn't have a book about them having sleepovers, so no.
no fun to be had.
Yeah.
Even worse, this deadly possibility relies on factors solely outside of your control. That is, unless you decide to take matters into your own hands. Going to other games is fine during closing hours, but during open hours is completely unheard of. Being outside of your game at this time is obviously very dangerous, because
If you die outside your own game, you don't regenerate. Ever. Game over.
Yeah.
thanks, Sonic. But
Yeah,
this
thanks.
practice is also dangerous.
Thanks for
because the
giving us
players
information.
Might see you somewhere you don't belong, and not only jeopardizing the game you're in, but also the game you left. Best
Like
case
literally
scenario-
imagine some random characters from the video game start shouting at me, saying, "Get out of this game! It's dangerous!" Like what? Yeah, see, I would be weirded out too if I was just a little girl.
Players will shrug off anything weird and move on to spend all their remaining tokens at the Deal or No Deal machine for the next 2 hours.
I've
But
never
at
seen
worst,
it.
they'll assume that your game is broken. Now you're out of order, and death is just around the corner. Now you're out of
If you put money in, it's your own fault.
order, and death is just around the corner. And so that is when it becomes game jumping, which just might be the biggest taboo in their entire society. Guess whose fault that is? So back in 1982, when the arcade first opened, Turbo Time was by far the most popular game. For some reason, given that it seems to consist of a featureless dirt loop with 0 points of interest, but I mean, hey, the bar was lower back then. And for personal safety reasons, I'm just kidding. Regardless, Turbo loved the attention. A completely healthy and normal amount. So then 5 years passed. and now it's 1987, which was also the year of an incident at some random pizza chain nearby, but you guys don't care about that. So then this new racing game called Road Blasters comes rolling in.
Was it real?
Turbo Time. So, like
That's
a good
crazy.
neighbor,
I didn't think it
Turbo
would be
decides
that
to
real.
give the new arrivals a warm welcome by ramming into them with his car and T-boning them to death. In the end, Turbo not only unplugged Road Blasters, but also his own game due to his absence rendering it unplayable. And so neither of the cabinets ever saw the light of day again. It seems they were less of new arrivals and more like new rivals.
Yeah, that's not funny. I'm sorry.
But more
Yeah.
on the scene itself. It's overlaid with a grainy, distorted filter, making the flashback all the more mysterious and atmospheric. And the story is super concise, communicating everything we need
The
to know about
question
this
is, which one escapes and which one dies? That seems like a good question here.
in under a minute. Very well executed. But in terms of an in-world explanation, it's been spread around for years by word of mouth, through rumors and horror stories, stripped down to its bare essential events. But what I find especially interesting is how much Felix knows about it. In this scene, he's explaining the story to Calhoun because she's not in the know, and neither is the audience, so it works pretty well.
Yeah,
But he's
it works.
been around long enough to live through what happened. It's probably a day that everyone in the arcade remembers, and one that nobody's shaken off since. I can't help but imagine it must have been especially hard for Felix, because you have to remember that Turbo was his neighbor, or maybe even someone he tried to look out for.
I was a roommate, so I think they kissed.
But by this point, Turbo is nothing more than a
Girl,
haunting
calm
absence,
down.
a bitter memory, a face he hasn't seen in years. Until that familiar scowl starts to claw out from the back of his mind. His eyes widen with shock as he's the first to realize when.
Are you ready to feel good about your body? LifeMD can help. Get started at lifemd.com.
I was about to say, not only did not
Just get them delivered, you
fix it Felix, I think Ralph knows, but he haven't been told because, again, he was outcast, so yeah, that made sense. But you do know about Turbo Tactics.
Anyways, have
But you do
you
know
ever heard
about
of a character quote
Turbo
haunting the
Go on, Turbo.
narrative? This term doesn't necessarily mean someone's up to spooky ghost shenanigans, but more so that they have a significant influence on the story they belong to, despite being absent. For example, Rose Quartz from Steven Universe passed away long before the first episode of the series,
Yeah.
but her influence is practically inescapable to everyone she had an impact on, which is most of the cast. This is especially true for Steven himself, who feels as if he lives in his mother's shadow and is forced to take on countless heavy responsibilities in her name. I'm sure he'll be fine. Now, I'd argue to
Don't
say
worry,
that
he's
Turbo
fine.
also fits this category. It's
In
been
the final.
25 years since
Don't
the
worry.
Road Blasters incident, and people are still talking about him. In fact, they mention his name only 6 minutes into the movie, which is the very first scene. These
Yeah.
people are terrified of this happening again.
And no one ever mentioned it now in a sequel, which that's a problem.
are quick to accuse anybody who goes against the status quo. In that way, he haunts the narrative because his fateful actions that day slowly became integrated into a societal expectation. An expectation that practically haunts Ralph wherever he goes.
Is it Turbo to want a friend, or a medal, or a piece of pie every once in a while? Is it Turbo to want more out of life?
Turbo actually did this
Yes.
out of selfishness, but Ralph is simply trying to stand up for himself after unjust treatment for his entire life. And the classism Ralph suffers because of is one of the very few things that isn't Turbo's fault, so good on him, I guess. But yeah, Ralph has the right motivation at the start, at least, but we'll get to that later. Now it seems there's only one question left to ask. After getting those games unplugged and haunting so many people, why did he do it? Perhaps it was because attention and winning
Jealousy.
were the only things that mattered to him, and he was so consumed by the adoration from these higher beings that, in his act of careless rage, he was unable to foresee the fact that he was partaking in his own demise. That and he got jealous. Now, Turbo is a character with a pretty cut and dry motive.
There are literally some characters that are freaking jealous. Like, for example, Tinkerbell. She only been jealous once because of Wendy. And decided to try to kill her. Yeah. And also in the sequel, she tried to kill Wendy's daughters too. So.
He's just a jerk whose temper gets the better of him, the perpetrator in a cautionary tale about self-control. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Not all villains need a tragic backstory to be compelling, although it certainly does help. Because to me, the most intriguing part of his character is who he eventually turns into, and how he reprograms himself into a complete and utter monster. Not to mention, villains are more fun if they're irredeemable assholes. Disclaimer, that's just my opinion, and if you headcanon that he's misunderstood, that is an equally valid interpretation, and I admire your ability to see goodness in him. Peace and love on planet Earth. But there is one last detail that I neglected to mention. Recounting the events of the flashback, Felix says this.
Abandoned his game.
And try to take over the new one.
He says he tried to take over the new one. This wasn't an act of revenge.
By meaning whoever.
It was a mission to monopolize.
And by meaning he never take the one that are new. Like for example, Sugar Rush was new, so yeah, that gotta mean that he went to a game.
Is all the attention for himself by secretly infiltrating a game and attempting to kill and replace the main character. Now, is it just me, or is this starting to sound familiar?
I said that.
Ma'am, I'm going with you.
Like fun you are, short short. You die outside your game, you don't regenerate.
Who really died that day? And who came back?
That's exactly what I just said. One of these characters actually gets
Even
out
after
and
the
one of
movie
them.
ends, Turbo is still shrouded.
Which one got killed and which one is alive? I just said that.
In mystery. How exactly was he able to escape a game as it was being unplugged?
Right
How come
before,
nobody
like-
noticed he wasn't dead? But most importantly, how the fuck did he take over Sugar Rush without anybody noticing?
Exactly.
Well, first of all, various fan wikis state that Sugar Rush was first released in 1997, presumably as a nod to Mario Kart 64, which it also bears some resemblance to. Although I couldn't find exactly where this quote came from, both the Wreck-It Ralph and Disney Wiki say it's an official description, so... You know what? That's good enough for me. But this means that before...
No, I kind of made me want me to eat some cookies. Let me go. Get that. Popcorn. I freaking shudder. There she's popcorn. Or white shudder, my bad. Anyways, let's continue.
Before he infiltrated Sugar Rush, Turbo must have been in hiding for 10 years. Might I ask, what was he doing with all that free time? Well, lucky for us, director Rich Moore actually hosted an Ask Me Anything just 3 days after the film's release, and it's still available online.
Yeah, it
today.
must have happened before they
also on top of-
even start this movie. Yeah, it must have happened before they even start that movie. Yeah. Okay. Come on. God. But what the frick? Okay. Okay, that works. I guess. Alright.
Of a slice of pie. This is where we are met with some astonishing insight.
Oh, I could have read.
Ralph.
This person had a notable question. It reads, my 6-year-old daughter keeps asking me how Turbo got into Candy Rush after getting turned off, and she will think I am very cool for having asked the director. First of all, that's really cute, and second of all, it's called Sugar Rush, and you're 6. That's really, and she will think I am.
It's a Candy Rush. Oh my god.
I'm very cool for having asked the director. First of all, that's really cute, and second of all, it's called Sugar Rush, and your 6-year-old is obviously a fake fan. Anyways, Rich Moore responded with this. We thought of it this way. He escaped Road Blasters before it was unplugged, lived in the bowels of Game Central Station, growing
That could
more
happen.
and more bitter. Learned a thing or two about code, saw Sugar Rush plugged in, and made his move before anyone played the game. And that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
That could happen. That could.
Interesting.
Yeah, that
You
could
see,
happen.
This answer is good, but it's still kind of vague. Maybe on purpose to leave room for interpretation.
How? Like where? For how long? Delivery available. School bus state. By what mean?
But at the same time, I found it weirdly difficult to get much word on Turbo officially. Like, it seems they barely talk about him. The official art book doesn't even mention him once. And that leads me to believe maybe he was always supposed to be a mystery.
Could be.
Or maybe they just hate him.
Could be both.
Emergency update.
It could be they find out before the end of this movie. Yeah, and that's why they never mentioned it in the sequel. That could make sense. Yeah.
I just found an interview where they mention him. So this is from 8 years ago. It was from an AMA at the El Capitan Theater, and it's when someone in the audience, it's actually this person in the comments
I'm
right
listening.
here. I owe you my entire life. They asked a question about what was the inspiration for Turbo, and I will show that footage right now.
Hi, big fan of the movie. What was the inspiration for Turbo?
We wanted to have an antagonist that was kind of Ralph at his worst, you know. Ralph was kind of a needy character that he wanted friends, he wanted attention. Turbo kind of came out of that, but pushed way to the extreme.
If I had known this sooner, I would have based an entire argument around it, but he added this in at the last second. So before we discuss that comparison further, just keep that in the back of your mind. This interview also makes me think of, unfortunately, the sequel and how mischaracterized Ralph was to be needy and at his worst, even though he had already completed a character arc in the first movie. And I think that's another reason why they didn't mention Turbo at all in Ralph Breaks the Internet, because they didn't want the audience catching on to how badly written their shit show of a movie was. I got a little off topic there.
Rock connection. Yep, that is what I
Really?
I did, yes, and whenever he came to the penthouse, he never took off his shoes. He tracked dirt everywhere. So I didn't like it. Never liked it.
Well, you know, he almost killed Ralph and Penelope.
Oh, well, that's probably kind of bad too.
Anyway, sorry. We were analyzing the movie, and then we went off on a side tangent. Let's get back
Let's
to
try to imagine telling that to a character. Imagine telling that to a character that had nothing to do with this. and they said this, they don't, that person don't even care at all. Cause they don't want nothing to do with this.
The sweet sound of earning and saving money on Vinted with 0 selling fees and.
By this point, King Candy has sort of exhausted his normal methods of attack. That is until he remembers his and Ralph's interaction from earlier.
What's that mean?
That was your metal?
Everyone, what?
Nothing but.
I was like, what would that mean? What he mean by that until I realizing the freaking death. That might be it.
Oh, now. He did what? I need that back.
And he hatches a plan. As he treads behind his stolen throne, Candy pulls back the curtain, both figuratively and literally. He punches in the Konami code to gain access to the game's files, and although it makes 0 sense why there's a miniature NES controller inside Sugar Rush, it's still clever and iconic. I don't care. But this whole scene really gives off the impression that this isn't the first time Candy's been doing some monkey business back here. However, the same can't be said for Sourville, who is visibly afraid. And it takes a lot to change his expression. As touched on earlier, the contrast between these two is nothing short of genius. Candy is usually all over the place, and Sourville is rarely fazed by anything. And yet, here we see Candy marching towards this vault with a cold and calculative expression, and here we see Sourville disturbed and apprehensive. Again, it's nothing but body language, but it makes you question
body language.
On that note, Candy seems a little too eager to mess with the code.
The sweet lifeblood of the game.
Also, I'm sorry, it's the sweet lifeblood? Ew. What is wrong with him? By now,
he's
the
weird.
audience starts
That's
to
why
figure
they
out
call.
that King
That's why I
Candy
should
is
have.
pretty.
This is why I should have roasted the heck out of him. This is why I should have called. This is why I should have just roasted him and say you look like Mad Hatter. If he have a tantrum like a freaking toddler.
Shady. The phrase "stick to the program" has been repeated God knows how many times leading up to this moment, so we understand he obviously doesn't play by the rules. And by breaking these rules, he has access to unrestrained powers, those of which he is entirely responsible with and would never— oh my god, what is that?
Yeah, how big is that?
Brings the term egocentric to a whole new level. It is no competition, the biggest thing in the room, while also being in the dead center of it, connected to nearly everything. I guess you could say he made it so the world of Sugar Rush literally revolves around him. But now on to what's on the inside, which is arguably worse. Here is where we see a horde of tangled wires and possessions crammed within the confines of this singular box. And with the way it strobes uncontrollably, it's almost as if the software itself is crying in pain. So why is his code box so disorganized? As one comment from the movie's IMDb trivia page puts it, Candy has haphazardly hacked himself into the game. Take a look at how all the other nodes are neatly organized, and then compare that to his, with its wires spun around like spaghetti. It's because he's a virus, and he's abusing the logic of the game for his own selfish desires. Well, if we were getting technical,
what if I know it might be dumb, and I know it might not be true, but what if Turbo is the virus? What if, since he's a virus, he can't get killed? Or what if he will come back someday, but in a different form?
Parasite, because he's not infinitely replicating himself like a virus would, like some other fucking movie I know. After this, I promise I'll stop talking about it for the next hour. Wreck-It Ralph did such a good job with King Candy's virus allegory that they didn't even mention he was one until the end of the movie. Its portrayal was practically the definition of show, don't tell. Now, if we were to acknowledge the sequel's existence for just a millisecond, the whole Ralph insecurity virus thing, I've never seen symbolism so blatant and in your face in my life.
It happened because an insecurity virus cloned all of your completely self-destructive behavior.
Well, thanks for saying that, or else I wouldn't have been able to figure it out. Oh, they said it a second time, too.
If I do come across as needy and clingy and self-destructive like Nosemore said.
And that's all that. As for King Candy's parasitic behavior, he found Sugar Rush to be a suitable host, and then he hijacked it, reprogramming its inner workings to comfortably supply him with everything he could ever need and more. In fact, he was willing to claim his position of absolute power by any means necessary.
Yep. Let's do
Don't make summer.
Alright, let's do a part 3.